Welcome back. 12 jurors have been seated for Donald Trump's criminal trial in New York, but not without major concerns for the jury. So let's talk about the first week with our friend, attorney and legal expert, Dr. Tracy Pearson, who's up late and live with me on the Final Five. Hello, Tracy.
Hi, Jim. It's wonderful to be with you. Thank you for having me tonight.
Good to see you again. So let's talk about this. We had what I can imagine would be a pretty arduous task. You're trying to find people in a predominantly Democratic city who say that they can be impartial against a person that many people don't seem to care for these days in New York City itself. And the president says by virtue of that, it is an unfair jury pool. So if you're a judge, if you're a lawyer watching this process, you've got to imagine it was some heavy lifting.
It was. I think that people tend to focus on the fact that he was president, but the fact is that Donald Trump has a long history with Manhattan, with New York County, and he wasn't liked before he became president. It's a very high-populated Democratic county. 56% or so is about registered Democrats. And it's a very different sort of demographic in Manhattan. So he's contending with that. But when it comes to talking about impartiality, what we're talking about is a person who can make a decision based on objective criteria. And in this case, what we're asking jurors to do is to say that they can be taught the law by the judge will instruct them on the law, and that they will apply the facts that they learned during the trial to that law. It isn't about how they feel about Donald Trump.
You know, as we saw this part of the trial play out, and obviously it's the crucial part of any criminal trial when you seat this jury, we had a lot of intel from reporters, from other news sources, giving us almost a biography, a pretty detailed biography in some cases, of these jurors. We knew who they worked for. We knew their occupation. We knew their gender. And there was, in the case of at least two of these jurors, enough of that information where there were people who put two and two together and realize, hey, that's my friend on the jury, and by virtue of that, they were out of the case. So if you're in the court, are you uneasy with the media reporting these details, or is that just part of how it goes no matter who the defendant may be?
I am uneasy about it. I wrote an article today on my Substack, and today and the rest of the week is Ethics Week for the Society of Professional Journalists. I happen to be a member, and it's important for journalists to understand that they are putting the thumbs on the sort of the scales of justice when they report information that really isn't important to the case. When the jury is selected, obviously there will be some information that'll be reported, but I cut my teeth on court TV and law and crime, and I have to say that we never reported about that information. And so it's concerning to me because it's causing some of these jurors to not want to serve. And Judge Merchan has taken the approach that if you don't feel that you can, I don't want you here, which is sort of unusual. But he just doesn't want to contend with that.
It's interesting to see this process play out against the backdrop, as we've been talking about O.J. Simpson the last few weeks, and in a case where there was so much attention paid to that trial and the process. In that case, they had to sequester the jury. And you can imagine the people who go through that process. It is a very arduous task because whether you're sequestered or not, you know, this is your life. You can't talk about what's going on, even with the fellow jurors. This is something that you have to keep to yourself. You have to keep all of this in your mind until the day comes for deliberations out there. Does this change? I mean, granted, we're talking about a case that was, you know, more than almost 30 years ago at this point. But does this change how we look at the jury system?
I think that it is a problem no matter whether you're sequestered or not. Sequestration creates a problem because, you know, look, you want your own pillow, right? And so you're stuck in a hotel and you can't interact with people normally. You're being watched by law enforcement many times. You can't read what you want to read. And when you're at home, you're subject to potentially private investigators skulking you out, trying to figure out what you're doing and talking to people in your life. There's no good way of doing it. I think the most important thing that I want people to understand about juries and picking juries is that, yes, by and large, there can be sort of sleeper people that are in there that are trying to mess with the system. But by and large, nothing predicts what a jury is going to do, because once they raise their hands and they swear to comply with the oath that the court is going to administer, something changes for them. And that's been my experience. And so the other piece of this is that nothing about a human being is going to tell you how they're going to decide. That is a very complex issue. And so we want to try to make it, scientific. And I tell people that when you listen to jury consultants, just put your fingers in your ears and go, la, 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 because it doesn't work.
But that is a very lucrative career for a lot of people, being those jury consultants. Am I right?
Oh, absolutely. It is a lucrative career.
I feel like we were talking about the logistics of that, and there's still a whole other criminal case to get through. But the good news is that's just getting underway, Tracy. So we're going to have you back very soon to talk about that. But I got to leave it at that. Tracy Pearson joining us tonight. Good to see you again.
Thank you very much. It was great being here.
Great seeing you and great talking with you. And the Final Five is back after this.